Hello and welcome to Travel Insights brought to you by The Door. On today's show, we have with us Srinath Shankar, the co-founder at Pick Your Trail. Bikes, travel and data are what gives Srinath the real high in life. An All India True Wanderer 2.0 competition runner-up and a Flickr Motography finalist, he prides himself in having biked 18,000 kilometers across the length and breadth of the country. The current endeavor at Pick Your Trail is to build an internet consumer product which will change the way people book and experience international vacations. His past roles include being a high-capacity business analyst, change agent and revenue generator with a solid record of multi-project management across various geographies. His organization Pick Your Trail aims to change the customer experience so they can explore destinations at their own pace with completely customized tour packages. It started in 2014 as India's biggest online DIY or do-it-yourself holiday booking platform that empowers users to curate customized holidays. Welcome, Srinath. Pleasure to have you on our show today.
It's my pleasure as well.
Great. So 2014, we're in 2020, so like 6 years is how long you've been in the industry as such. But I mean, obviously you were doing something before that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey so far in the business world?
Yeah, absolutely. So like post my MBA back in 2009, we're talking about COVID right now, but when I finished my MBA, back then it was the financial crisis. So I think that I have a knack of getting into these kind of pandemic or financial crisis every 10-12 years. So back then when I had to get back to my job back in 2009 and after my MBA, 2009. So predominantly I wanted to get into investment banking and that line, but unfortunately that was not a great time. So I chose to get into financial debt restructuring and bad debts and restructuring all of that and pricing of these products. Got into that line and I started working with a company called Outboard Capital Group, which is a US-based debt restructuring company. So worked with them for about a couple of years, pricing financial products and projecting liquidation events for them. And from there onwards, I moved on to Western Union, and I was, helping the Western Union with respect to pricing strategy for their Middle East Africa region, predominantly with respect to cross-border remittances and thereabouts. So that the large part of my experience prior to starting Pick Your Trail was in the financial domain and predominantly into debt restructuring or pricing as a very specific skill set that I had picked up, and it also allowed me to explore different parts of the countries or different parts of the geographies of the world to try and understand how they work, how the people of these places work, and what are their consumer sentiments and consumer behavior, all of that. So that was the beginning of my customer journey as such, and understanding customers and trying to predict how they would react. So it was a great, interesting phase of the career, and post MBA, a very interesting phase to be in. And I am kind of thankful for that exposure because that built a lot of business knowledge. Pricing a product, you need to understand both on the business side in terms of what are the input costs and how you should be pricing, and also on the consumer side what they are willing to pay or what they can afford to pay. So that was a good base that was set for me, and that subsequently helped me with respect to Pick Your Trail as well.
So coming from a financial background, getting into, one can understand Pick Your Trail, of course, is to do with travel, but very heavily based on technology. So how did that evolution happen? Financial background, technology, how did that come about?
Yes. That's a fear we also had initially, because we do not come from a travel background. Both me and my other co-founder Hari, we do not come from a travel background whatsoever. So we did not have any idea about how the supply works, how flights work, how the industry works. So, but we were very sure that, hey, we understand technology, we understand generally consumer travel, because between me and my other co-founder, we've traveled to about now probably close to about 55, 60 countries. So that means that we understand the logistics of travel in a basic nature from a consumer perspective. So we said that, hey, it cannot be that difficult to dive in. We understand technology, we understand the consumer side of it, how they want to travel. It cannot be that difficult to understand the supply side, and if we wear a technology hat, let's try and do that. So first 1.5-2 years, we actually learned the industry in and out. We went to different events, we tried and understand, okay, how distribution works of inventory, and how on the other side of supply, what is it that they leverage technology for. So 1.5 to 2 years of picture trail journey was very manual journey. We didn't have a website as such. We had just a landing page where we would ask people, saying that if you're interested in curating handcrafted travel itineraries by people who've been to these places, it was just a lead gen platform. But first 1.5-2 years, we would build itineraries ourselves manually, and those itineraries, what we would do is that we would build them in Excel. Primary reason being, if you do that in Excel, I can break down each part of the itinerary into metadata, which can be passed on to my DB, which eventually can be learned by our algorithms to build itinerary on its own. So all we did is that we approached with a tech, saying that if I have to productize something, how would I do it? And at the same time, because I'm doing it for the first time, we got our hands dirty and did it manually. So the first 1.5-2 years, both on the supply side, it was a lot of manual conversations and trying to understand, exploring, getting our hands dirty. That's how we kind of understood this space, and we're still trying to understand this space, to be very honest, because it's a pretty complex problem to solve, to be very honest. Flight distribution, hotel distribution, and consumer preference, like how do I personalize something for customers, is always the holy grail in travel. More often than not, that people are looking to solve for the last 10 to 12 years. We're continuing to do that even today as we speak.
So then, what did you do about the technology team? You actually employed people to work for you, or was it built, like, say, by yourselves, or how did it work?
So we understand technology, but unfortunately we can't build or code ourselves. So when I say we understand technology, we can talk about the architecture, we can talk about algorithms and all of that. But when it comes to the actual coding part of it, we did not have that exposure. So we kind of also took it upon ourselves and split, saying that, okay, the back end of the website is something that I will focus on, and the front end of the website, UX and UI, and the design aspects of it, my other co-founder will look at. We split that part, and the initial 1.5 years, we had a very small tech team, and we took upon ourselves to pick up these other additional roles, and to say that we will do the planning part of it, architecture part of it, and all of that, and the execution we will do it with a small tech team. And that's how we started. And eventually that tech team grew slowly, and now we have a proper tech team, right from front end, back end, infrastructure to algorithms, to all of that put together. And that's how it kind of evolved. So, but in the initial phase, it was us with a very small tech team, us picking up additional roles and trying to do stuff, because at the early part of it, we were bootstrapped, so we had to get things done whichever way it was possible.
So you started in 2014. You say you started with building manual itineraries, and then worked yourself through. So what are the changes that you have seen in terms of demands, needs, preferences of the consumer, and what were their requirements in 2014, and how has it changed till 2019 December, or say 2020 January? Let's not talk beyond that.
So, back in 2013 and 14, what we kind of realized is that travel from India was still outbound travel, especially from India, was very corridor specific. People were not like at least in large scale, we were not exploring new destinations. For them, it was a passage of, right, start with an island like a Mauritius or a Sri Lanka or a Maldives, move on to Southeast Asia, go to a Thailand or a Vietnam or a Bali, and then graduate to a Europe, and then after that is when their horizon expands to think about Australia, New Zealand, Africa, or South America. So that is the kind of passage of right that happened. And even in that, what was that is that back in 2014, 13, 14, or even till about 15, 16, the low-cost revolution for India outbound was still in a very nascent stage. If we talk about AirAsia, but AirAsia from India, you would be surprised, did not even connect Indonesia, Bali, even in one stop. Back in 2014 and 15, it was a very roundabout way to get to Bali, unless you had a full cost career option. Full cost carrier options were there, Malaysian or Singapore, but low cost nothing was there. And eventually AirAsia opened up to Thailand, it opened up to Vietnam, Cambodia, Southeast Asia, all of a sudden became accessible. The same thing started extending to Australia from AirAsia, or to New Zealand, and Europe as well. Low cost options started, or at least started becoming mainstream, where you would go from here to Dubai in a low cost flight, and from there you take a Fly Dubai, or you talk about any of these Pegasus or any of these things. So the evolution of low cost is something that we have seen happen, which is making travel affordable for a lot of people. And now, as we speak in 2019 and 20, for a large part, I'm going to talk about a very specific segment, which is honeymoon. I would like to believe even in middle class, affordable, like the couple are there in a regular IT jobs, for them a honeymoon is out of India, or it's kind of become that is especially anything norm. Yes, exactly. So, and that's a good thing to have happened as well. And we've also seen between 2013 to 2020, the average, especially in the leisure space, the average spend by Indians has come almost comparable to even Americans. Americans are known to be well spenders in terms of leisure travel. Indians are not very far behind. So, markets like Australia, markets like France and Europe, in Europe, France or Switzerland, they are welcoming of Indians. Earlier, it was not a priority market, but it now kind of is becoming a priority market. Right after China, everybody is like looking at Indians because their spend capacity is on the higher side, or it's growing. The appetite is growing.
So when you say that yours is a DIY engine, are you saying that you are assuming that the customer basically knows the destination, so they know what they want to put in with their itinerary? Or do you have some kind of guidance which you give?
Yes. So there are two parts to it. So one part to it is obviously, when especially they are in the exploratory phase, more often than what we realize that consumers are not very comfortable already talking to travel agent, because they're forming opinion what destination to go to and what to do over there. They want to know what is the estimated budget of this place and all of that. At that phase, what our platform helps them is give them actual costs, that this, if you build an itinerary, this is what it's going to cost you, because we do live API connects of flights, hotels, activities, transfers and all of that, so they get a fair amount of understanding. So what we have seen is that when our customers, predominantly before reaching out to us in chat or through telephony, or us reaching out outbound, happens when they have built about 2 or 3 itineraries on the platform. So that the platform encourages them to do without feeling the burden of what do you call a sense of guilt will be there in their mind, saying that, hey, I'm engaging with a person, but I don't have the intent to buy yet. So that the platform kind of reduces that friction. And after that, when they are ready they fixed a destination, we still believe that touch is going to be a very important aspect to it. So we have destination experts who, we work with tourism boards to get them certified, to get them know the destination in depth. And they speak with these people and they collaborate on the platform, saying that, hey, this is how your itinerary should look like, and this is what it's going to cost you, and these are things you will enjoy, you will not enjoy, or these are things that you have to look out for. And after that, they can go ahead and book in the platform. So that's how Tech plus Touch kind of collaborates together. But I believe that tech plus touch is going to be the way forward, because even in US, where travel technology is fairly advanced, even today, say 60% of leisure travel is dominated by travel agents, because they value holiday planning as a skill. So I don't think it is going away anytime soon. But maybe for short getaways, people would want to plan all by themselves and not because all the information is available. Even there, our platform is there to help them out. So which is what we are seeing with our Staycations as a product that we've recently launched, where people are taking a weekend getaway to a nice luxury retreat. So those are places where we believe touch will slowly die down, and they will be confident enough to book by themselves. The typical example is back in 2003, 4, 5. Flight booking, you had to speak to somebody, but right now international flight booking, nobody talks to anybody, they just go ahead and book.
That's right.
So I think that's the kind of change that will eventually happen between then and 2019-20 consumer behavior.
And what kind of profile are you seeing? Do you find people booking luxury vacations also on the DIY platform, or is it more people who are well-traveled and who are also on a budget? How does it work? What is the profile of
so
the
we have a large part of our profile, at least 60% of our profile has been for honeymoon, and this honeymoon category has been across budgets. So we also do Southeast Asia, right? So we do Bali, we do Thailand. There people are budget conscious. So we have done vacations on our platform for 2 people for 5 nights, everything put together at about 80-90 grand also, which is 40-45 grand per person. Because at the end of the day, our platform is a choice-driven platform. So that means that if you want budget, we only don't do hostels. So that's one thing that we don't, and we don't do anything below 3-star property, because at the end of the day, I have to provide concierge as well. And if it goes below that, my quality takes a hit. I may not be able to service it. So we stick to a certain quality, and in that also we have budget options. So as I said, Southeast Asia, in all of these places, we are at about 45 grand per person. Itineraries are also there, and we also have luxury segment which wants like very bespoke experiences, like go to New Zealand for about 25 days, stay in farm, or do very unique experiences. All of that happens. So we in fact had one gentleman with us who did a 45-day itinerary on the product, which was starting from Southeast Asia, traveling to the east. So he started with Vietnam, went to Indonesia, from there to Australia, then to New Zealand, and this over a period of about 45 to 50 days. So all kind of users we see, but if I have to put it in a category, that would be 60% is honeymoon, and probably 30% is family vacations, predominantly around summer vacation or holidays like puja holidays or winter holidays. That's the segment predominantly that comes on our platform.
So that's on the spend side. But what about on the age profile? Is the younger generation more inclined to customize their vacations, or?
So age-wise, when I talk about it, I categorized it into honeymoon. So, but that honeymoon for us is more so starting from their actual honeymoon to about first 3 years of their anniversary. People generally are still thinking about taking a vacation outside India, and after that, kids plus first 2 or 3 years, they don't think about travel. So that would make a profile from anywhere between 25 to 35 is something that's 60% of our audience. Below 25, we don't see, because we don't do backpacking, we don't attract that kind of audience on a platform, because we don't do hostels, we don't do those kind of stuff, right? So that kind of makes it a little difficult to attract that kind of audience. But 25 to 35 is majority of our audience, 60-65%. And then family, family is parents plus 2 kids, 10 plus or 5 plus is about 30% of our audience.
Now, 7 years you've been in the industry. What really inspires you and keeps you going to be a part of the travel industry? And of
One
course,
thing, yes,
yeah,
please go
with
ahead.
your platform, in a way, you are one would say a kind of a disrupting technology. So, what really inspires you to be a part of it?
One of the things that keeps us interested in this space is that travel as an industry is probably the first to adopt technology worldwide. So when I say that, I will give you example also. We're talking about technology and industry. We think about e-commerce, but travel was the first to imbibe e-commerce back in 2002, 3, 2004. Make my trip or booking flights online became mainstream. E-commerce is something that travel embraced. Similarly, with respect to distribution, inventory management, and all of that, we immediately think about logistics. We think about e-commerce again, saying that how do they, manage supply, getting into the hands of the supply. I mean, in the customers. But if you think from an airline industry perspective, back in 1980s, they have started thinking about this distribution, such a complex problem to solve, and they
Yes.
imbibe technology over there. So I think. As comparable as finance, travel is at least a pioneer when it comes to thinking about technology and it being part of the industry. So that kind of gives us scope, saying that, hey, yeah, anybody, any travel startup or anybody wanting to look at embracing travel or getting into this industry, there's always going to be scope, because technology is also evolving and travel is the first one
Yes.
to embrace it. So it's a very interesting industry to be in, number one, obviously. And number two is that the India story is very, very exciting, because we have seen China story pan out in terms of how their outbound market has grown so big and so exponentially. India's story is also exciting. We believe, forget the COVID part of it, it's just a small disruption. But we believe that Indians are here to stay as a market, and they will be traveling all around the globe. And this will become a key market that all countries will prioritize in their marketing or their, inbound tourist markets. This will become a big market by itself. So these two things put together keeps us excited, and we believe that it's still in India is a very at least the leisure space is still a very scrambled market, if I have to call it that way. There's no single consolidator who holds like 20-30% of the market share. It is large part of it, at least I would like to believe 80-90% of it is still with small time travel agents out there. So the opportunity to consolidate over here is also interesting, if I have to talk. Besides obviously the typical OTA transaction, which is just a flight booking or a hotel booking, I'm talking about the leisure space. I think
True.
there's a good opportunity to consolidate. So these are some of the things that keep us excited to be
So
in this space.
when you say consolidate, are you thinking in future in terms of providing maybe something like white label solutions to travel agents who can come onto
Yes.
your platform, and you
So
do the fulfillment parts?
Yes. So when I said consolidation part of it, both in the travel agent space, on the e-commerce space, which is online. So we want to bring this online. So that is one form of consolidation, offline to online, that we want to try and do. The other one is to also try and see if we can empower. So technically speaking, we have that our APIs are exposed and people can do that white label with us. It's just that during this pandemic, we kind of built that capability. But once things start opening up and people are travel agents again are getting back to business and thinking about it, we can be powering their website. So it can be ABC Travel, which can be powered in the backend by us, because for the consumer, it'll look like their own website. So that's something that is a possibility that we're looking at. And also, if we've been thinking about it, we can give cross capabilities to let's say for airlines. We can give them post airline booking entire itinerary planning as a capability. Is something that we are exploring. I think that can be powered the post flight booking cross sell upsell, so that they can also, because everybody is now consolidating not just vertically but horizontally as well. The prime example being Ryanair and EasyJet. they are going beyond this flight distribution, and they are
Yes.
trying to consolidate over there. We are seeing Emirates doing it. So we think that what we have as a platform can be promising for these kind of opportunities as well.
Oh, that's good to know. So that means your platform must be quite robust if you're so confident to be able to plug it in with an airline which is being used by so many users.
So from that perspective, we've kind of made the platform plug and play. So I can choose to have a supply. Today I can choose to have, let's say for example, flight distribution from Amadeus. Tomorrow I can integrate something else like Sabre or Travelport or any of these things. It's just a plug and play in terms of supply. The algorithm and the engine part of it, the heart of it, is going to say the same. So it's just going to say that, okay, instead of reading this inventory content, I will read some other inventory content and show it up. So if I might show, yeah. So from that perspective, we have built it as plug and play. It's just a matter of putting together interesting story. So right now on the B2B side, to be very honest, we have not thought about it. We are forming our opinions in terms of how to go about doing it, but from a capability perspective, is something that is a long-term vision for us, is to try and see if we can get there. So we are still playing out the B2C story because that itself is quite big. But the B2B story, we have done here and there. We have done a couple of integrations. We are not allowed to talk about it, but we have kind of ventured into that space already.
Okay, that's great. So now coming to the current situation, COVID-19, how has that affected your business in terms of people coming onto the site to look for holidays? Are people coming, just checking and at least say, okay, keep this on my bucket list and I go in there later? How much has it affected the traffic, and how has it affected you as a company in terms of functioning?
Okay, so from overall from a company perspective, I think nobody has been immune to it, especially in the travel space. Everybody has been brutally hurt by the COVID situation and how it has impacted. So we were doing our ever highest numbers in the month of January and even in February, as in when the COVID was playing out. We did not realize it's going to be so big, because in January our narrative was it's very isolated to China and probably to some parts of Southeast Asia, but Europe is not going to get affected by it, or Australia and New Zealand is not going to get affected by it. That's what we were thinking in January. And then February, when Italy shut down, that's when it actually started hitting everybody that this is going to be something quite big. And something that when we were doing our ever highest numbers, from there it just hit zero to start with. The realization that we will not be doing any vacations, especially when India lockdown was announced, that meant that okay, our revenue is going to be zero. So that 100 to 0 was a matter of just 2 days that it happened for almost every company. And that's something that even for a not so well performing company, the transition always is 100, 90s, 80. There's a deceleration that happens, not a 0 to 100 to 0. So that was a reality check for a lot of people, and for us as well. And the second biggest reality check was that December, January and February, because we had done our peak numbers, that meant that our summer vacations were booked out. So we had close to about 6,000 or 7,000 or in fact 8,000 passengers who had booked well in advance till about July. And the entire reverse logistics of it, I think, as much as booking, reservations and availability is solved for in the travel industry, the reverse of it continues to be manual even today. As we speak, right from airlines to hotels to whatnot. There is an aspect of the refund cancellations, and the reverse logistics of it is a bit manual. And the kind of scale. So even for us, the calculations were always at about 1-2% of GVV, the total booking value. But that becoming 100% is something that it took the industry by storm. And we had to build a lot of infrastructure. So first 2 months for us was built on that infrastructure because we want to make sure that even in this phase, we should be giving a great consumer experience. So thankfully, during this entire cancellation period, we did not have a slew of bad negative reviews coming on our Facebook page or our Google reviews. So we kind of managed that meaningfully because we tried keeping the communication, transparent and honest, saying that, hey, this is how it's going to be processed, this is how it's going to be taking time, and we continue to do periodic check-ins with them in terms of communication from our side, which did not feel like a automated message, but a message coming from a human, because that is what they were. That is where consumers were getting agitated, saying that I'm not able to reach somebody to get a complete answer. Yeah, so that was the challenge. So even for us, they were not able to reach us over phone as frequently as possible, but we had made sure that we listened to them. So we had kept the email channels open for them so that we can respond within 24 hours. And as and when the kind of volume kind of became manageable, we opened up our phone lines for them as well, so that they can reach out to it. But that entire exercise was a learning for us, given that we always thought about booking and availability as a problem, but never the other way around. So we had to build infrastructure around it. So that was also brutal. So about 3 to 6, I would say at least till about the month of June, we had no revenues coming in because lockdown was in full phase. Yes. From July onwards, we have started seeing recovery, and the first set of recovery that we started seeing is people going to local places, drivable distance from their own cities. That's something we started, hometown. So the staycations is something that we started seeing, and we built out a product called as PYT Deals. It was the value prop was very simple. We are going to curate probably about 30 to 40 staycations, which are going to be, because a resort is going to be a hero by itself. So we are going to put together experiences within the resort and give it at a interesting price point that will make it value for money for a lot of people. So we started doing that from July. That started seeing good traction for us. And then, ever since Bombay, Bangalore and Kochi opened up flights to Maldives, we have started seeing us, almost getting to our pre-COVID levels with respect to Maldives as a destination. So I would like to believe that there is opportunity. People are dying to travel. It's opportunity. Whoever is able to pick it up, there's going to be great opportunity when the market opens up, because people are willing to travel is what we see from at least staycations as a product, and now Maldives as a product. We are seeing that we are hitting a pre-COVID level. So though we are not doing a major markets like Europe, Australia, New Zealand and Southeast Asia, we are at about 15 to 20% of our pre-COVID levels, and Maldives as a particular destination, we are almost at 100% of our pre-COVID levels.
Oh, that's excellent. So that was in fact what I wanted to ask you. What do you think about the future? But so what you say is that it's there. It's just waiting to be let loose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So even today we get queries on our platform. Like people come on chat and say, hey, I want to go to Europe. Can I book right now? We tell them, please do not book right now. Even if the flights are available and all of that, the quarantine and all of that is not tourism friendly at the moment. So do not get into the routine of cancellations and all of that. We would want you to wait and watch is what we tell them. But we see there is latent demand that is existing.
So thank you, Srinath. I think all this was great to hear from you. But before we sign off, any parting comments for our viewers in terms of travel and when it's going to restart and how it's going to come back?
We continue to internally debate about it. So back in March, we were in the phase of denial. We said that how long will lockdown happen? People will start traveling by July. Governments will open up. July came, and then now it's December. I mean, it's going to be November, December. We're seeing the reality. So I think especially countries which do not want to take the risk of COVID, like Australia or New Zealand, they are going to be long-term. They're going to take a long-term view of opening up their borders. So we hear as of today that Australia and New Zealand are not thinking anytime before next October. That's what they're talking about. But there are certain markets which are very tourist dependent. So especially Southeast Asia, they have to get to terms with it and start opening up. So we believe that sometime either if vaccination happens anytime in January, February, I think slowly a lot of countries will start opening up by itself. And the cautious way of traveling will become a reality. So I think at least 50 to 60% of recovery will happen definitely for the next summer vacation season. At least if not 60%, between 40 to 50% will happen. But to get to 100%, I think we are at least about 18 to 24 months away.
Yeah, but let's hope for the best, and thank you so much. It was a pleasure
Thank
speaking
you
with
very
you.
much.
And
Same
we'll try
here,
and catch
same
up
here.
with you.
Definitely.
And to our viewers, thank you. And to our viewers, we hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you did, don't forget to click on like, share, and subscribe. And do feel free to leave your comments below. And until next time, stay safe, take care.